Hi friends, thanks so much for being here. In this video, we'll be going back to Prythian because it is time for another round of A Court of Books. If you have somehow missed my introduction to this new TBR game that I made, then definitely check out the video up in the info cards. Every month I pick 4 books through the prompts from the different courts within Prythian. So of course, this is based on the amazing fantasy series A Court of Thorns and Roses. And yes, this is my September TBR video. I blame my work. Anyways, we're going to go for 4 rolls today because I'm cutting myself some slack. I don't want to put myself in a position that I feel too much pressure to read tons of books. So 4 rolls, 4 prompts, 4 book picks. Before we start with roll number 1, I want to say thank you to my patrons. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for your support. And if you feel like it is something for you, you want to support me as well, then head over to my Patreon, patreon.com, type in my name or click on the link in my description. Let's start with roll number 1. Okay, so we are going to start where we left off the last time, and that is the summer court. It was this spot right here. I've got my beautiful purple dice right here. Actually, this is not mine. I think this is from my boyfriend. Anyways, roll number 1. It is a 3. So it is either going to be the winter court, autumn court, or spring court. Ooh, so many possibilities. Where do I want to go? Let's go to the autumn court. 1, 2, 3. Okay, the autumn court is right over there. Let's grab a card. And that card will tell us what prompt we need to do. And it is fire manipulation, a 5-star prediction. So that was roll number 1, a 5-star prediction. I feel like this is always kind of hard, but if you've seen my August TBR, you know that I reread The Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. And funnily enough, I gave that book, I used to give that book 5 stars. Now I gave it 4 stars, 4.5. But I do still have high hopes for the sequel. So my 5-star prediction is going to be the sequel, The Merciless Ones. Without spoiling it for the people that haven't read the first book, I feel like this is a very mature young adult fantasy. If it was still a category, I would say it's more new adult, not because of romance, but because of violence. Just a lot of battles and like suffering because these girls cannot die, especially not Deka, who is our main character. She's a gilded one. It's probably all I can say, but they are kind of these warriors that are protected by males. So they are kind of their assistant that needs to protect them with their life. So it's all about the females. It's also a coming of age story, and I have just noticed this, but Deka also looks more mature on this cover than on the first cover. So I feel like that is also really telling for this story. And I'm excited to see where it goes because the first book is really her journey into becoming this warrior. And then at the end, she finds out she's something else altogether. And it's probably where this book starts. So I'm excited to see what else there is for Deka. And I'm not entirely sure about this, but I believe it to be a duology. So this is the last book in this series. And I personally just love this cover and the colors. Let's go for roll number 2. It's a 2. Somehow I'm feeling South Prythian today, so I'm gonna go to the right. 1, 2, and stay in the autumn court. So let's grab another 1. Lucian, a book with complicated family dynamics. Currently we're staying in the autumn court because we got another autumn court prompt. This was a really hard one to find in my bookcase because complicated family dynamics. I mean, I know I came up with the prompts myself, but still, like, this is hard to know this beforehand, before reading a book. But luckily, I remembered that I had this book about 2 sisters that I once got in a fairy loot box, I believe. It's called Fire with Fire, and it's written by Destiny Soria. I believe this to be about two young sisters. It's a YA fantasy. I know there's dragons involved, and at the back it says, I didn't choose you and you didn't choose me, but we have each other now. Always. And it literally says in the blurb that Dani and Eden Rivera, so those are the sisters, were born to kill dragons, but that's the only thing the sisters have in common. And then because something happens, Dani ends up forging a rare and magical soul bond with a dragon, so they kind of get separated and they end up on opposite sides of an impending war. Talking about complicated family dynamics. So for me, this is the perfect book for this prompt. It's also a standalone, and it's a book that's been in my bookcase for so long, for over a year probably, so I'm excited to finally get to it. I feel like that's what TBR games are for. They motivate you to read more, go beyond your genres, find new books. It just always makes me so exciting to read more when I play a game somehow. Is that weird? Do you guys feel the same? Moving on to roll number 3. It's a 6. Let's go to the spring court. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Of course, the blooming rose is for the spring court. So let's pick this one. Shapeshifter, a book that matches your outfits. Let me tell you, I wish I would have worn something else, because this, what I'm wearing right now, is a very difficult color. I don't really have a print, so a book that matches your outfit kind of comes down to this color. But luckily, I have found one book that matches it. It's got this at the bottom. It reminds me of my shirt, so I feel like this could work. And it is Becoming by Michelle Obama. I'm assuming this is her life story, but I am not entirely sure. Let me just tell you, I haven't bought this book myself. I got it for my birthday for my sister-in-law. And when you get like books from friends, you want to read them as soon as possible so you don't feel guilty when they ask you, how was the book? You say like, oh, I haven't read it yet. So maybe there's a reason I chose this weird color today, because now I finally get to read Becoming. I know that this is a book that also has pictures in it, which is rare. All right, here we have another. I mean, look at that. It did get a lot of good reviews, so I'm happy to give it a try. So that's the third book for my September TBR. And then for the final roll of the month of September, it's a 3. So we can either go to the summer court or take a trip to the night court, because this way we can winnow to the night court, or I can stay in the Mortal Lands. Let's make it interesting and winnow over to the night court. So that means I'm going to pick a prompt from the Night Court deck. Amarantha's Horror, a book about mental health. For the people that don't get the link between Amarantha's Horror and a book about mental health, is that you need like some help with your mental health when you have been Amarantha's Horror. So that was kind of why I picked this prompt, or why I linked this prompt to this theme in the Night Court. This was another hard one because a lot of books don't mention that specifically, that it is about mental health. But I believe I found one that I've been dying to read, no pun intended. Under the Whispering Door. So this is apparently about grieving, and it says his death was their beginning. It is mentioned on Goodreads that it talks about grief, that it talks about depression. I mean, that counts as a book about mental health, right? The book is written by T.G. Klune, and you will know this author from The House at the Cerulean Sea, in the Cerulean Sea. I've never read that book, but I did really want to read something by T.G. Klune, so when I saw his second book came out, I bought it. This is a Waterstones edition. Welcome to Charon's Crossing. The tea is hot, the scones are fresh, and the dead are just passing through. When a reaper comes to collect Wallace from his own sparsely attended funeral, Wallace is outraged, but he begins to suspect she's right, and he's in fact dead. Then when Hugo, owner of a most peculiar tea shop, promises to help him cross over, Wallace reluctantly accepts the truth. And we've got all these deers on the inside, not sure what they mean yet. Another book that I really want to read. And that is it, guys. That is my September TBR. I hope that you have played along. If you did, then let me know the books that you picked based on these prompts. It's always very fun to read them. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and let's stay in touch.